Well, this is the last week of this study. And if you're like most groups, you've decided that you're going to spend the next year or two together, which means that tonight you're going to sign the group agreement. Very simply, the group agreement is a mechanism for aligning the expectations of everybody in your group. We've seen over time that groups who leverage the agreement at this point and sign it end up having a better experience over the long term. Now, some of you might be thinking, I'm not so sure that I want to sign anything. Well, this isn't like signing a mortgage or a car loan or even submitting your tax return. It's just a simple way of indicating that you understand how this group is going to operate and that you agree. So tonight, your leader is going to walk you through line by line, giving you the chance to offer your input, ask questions, and clarify things before you sign them. And before your leader does that, I want to take just a few minutes and highlight a couple of aspects of the agreement itself. Let's start with the purpose statement, specifically the first half, to provide a predictable environment. Now, predictable in this statement doesn't mean boring or stale or rote. Predictable means that you know who's going to be there from week to week. You know where you're going to meet, you know what time, you know what the format of the meeting is going to be, you even know how long the group is planning to stay together. Predictability is a big deal and people feeling comfortable enough to open up and talk about what's really going on. Now, the second part, where participants pursue healthy relationships and spiritual growth. Pursue is the operative word there because we can't guarantee healthy relationships and we can't guarantee spiritual growth. Your leader can't, the church can't. It's something that has to happen by a combined effort of everybody in the group, and really it's dependent on you. So this group is where you have the opportunity to pursue these healthy relationships and spiritual growth. Next, let's turn our attention to the values and goals section and take a look at multiplication. It's the last value, although it's a really important one. Now, multiplication is the idea that when this group comes to an end, two groups or maybe even three groups will be born out of this one group. Now you may be thinking, wait a minute, why are we talking about a group ending before the group has really even gotten started? Well, it's because in all things, there's a beginning and there's an end, and groups are no exception. The best groups know that there's going to be an end and they plan for it. Also, one of the three vital relationships, as we talked about, is influence with outsiders. And the way we keep groups from being too internally focused is remembering that there's other people out there who also need a space in these circles. That's why we keep our groups focused on and valuing multiplication. Now finally, let's look at the group guidelines. Specifically, the idea that this is going to be a closed group. Now, closed doesn't mean closed down or closed-minded. It just means closed to new people without the consent of everybody in the group. We want there to be a predictability, remember, from the purpose statement. We want to make sure that the people around the circle stay consistent from week to week. Because if you think about it, it's really challenging sometimes to open up and share who you really are, especially if you don't know who's going to be there from week to week. And the reality is that if you're introducing new people from week to week, some folks just aren't going to share, which thwarts the overall purpose of the group. That's why we don't add new people unless everybody agrees together. So your leader is going to walk you through line by line and make sure you understand the group agreement and are able to sign it. But first, Andy Stanley is going to give us one more idea about the benefit of living in community.
Believe it or not, here you are on week 8. Over the past couple of months, you've explored how intimacy with God, community with insiders, and influence with outsiders are essential ingredients for spiritual growth. And you've taken some time to share your stories with one another, and now you know each other better than you ever imagined was possible. I hope this has helped you take first steps in creating life-changing community together. As you move forward, your goal should be to keep showing up, joining in, and keep being real. Now, as the study comes to a close, I want to talk to you for just a few minutes about one more benefit of living in community. It's an incredibly practical benefit that has the potential to create a powerful connection between your faith and the circumstances of your everyday life. Now, the most difficult phone calls that we get at church are from people who are in crisis. We hear things like, I need someone to help me with my 16-year-old, they say, or my marriage is crumbling. And the first question we ask is, are you in a group? And here's why. When people are in a community group, we know there is someone there to help them when they stumble. I wish that everyone could experience this sort of structured community with other Christians doing life together that you have now committed to. In Luke's gospel, Jesus says this: things that cause people to stumble are bound to come. In other words, hardship and challenges are inevitable in life. There are times when we're going to be stretched to our limits. It's absolutely unavoidable. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how mature you are, or how much Bible you know. It's just going to happen. You can't get through life without stumbling from time to time. But here's the thing. While it's easy to stumble out of faith or away from what you believe, it's almost impossible to stumble out of community, because community is relational, it's tangible. In community, people are paying attention to what's going on in your life. They provide help and perspective when life feels a bit upside down. King Solomon, who with the exception of Jesus was the wisest man who ever lived, said this in the book of Ecclesiastes. Listen to this. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If they fall down, they can help each other get back up. But pity those who fall and have no one to help them up. When people in community fall, they have someone to help them get back on their feet. People in community are the hands and feet of Jesus for the other people in the group. When times are tough, that kind of support can actually be the difference between becoming angry with God and experiencing the love of God. Baptisms are one of my favorite things about Sunday morning services at our church. People tell their powerful stories of the things that God has done in their lives. And one of the things that we hear over and over and over again is this: I went through this difficult time and my group was there for me. So community group is an incredible opportunity for you to grow in your relationships with God together through the good times and the bad. Now just imagine what God might do in your group, in your church, maybe in your community, if you were to trust Him enough to allow Him to grow you and change you through the relationships that you've begun to form. We hope you don't miss that opportunity, and we hope you look back on this group and say it's one of the best decisions I ever made.
We hope the past 8 weeks have helped to set a foundation for a great group experience. We also hope that the relationships you've begun will grow you over time and move you to serve others. Next week, just enjoy hanging out and also decide what study you'll do next. And when you begin that next study, remember, keep showing up, keep joining in, and keep being real.